You're listening to the Monday Night Community Show with Daniel on BRFM.
This is the Daniel Monday Night Community Show on demand through YouTube. Thank you very much for choosing to listen to us through this method. If you'd like to keep up to date with when I add new interviews, then subscribe to this channel. And we're joined in the studio with our first guest, James Crane from the Kent County Council Community Wardens. James, it's always good to have you here in the studio. Thank you very much for joining us once again.
That's right, Daniel. Thank you very much for inviting me back.
Well, before we get on to this evening's subjects, I was just wondering if you can give our listeners a little bit of an introduction into the Kent County Council Community Wardens.
Yeah, certainly. Community Wardens are people who aim to improve the life of people in Kent so that they can live safely and independently in their neighbourhoods' communities. We're different from the police officers and the PCSOs, who are the police community support officers, as we're actually employed by Kent County Council and don't have any police powers. However, we do provide a visible and uniform presence and are regarded as the focal point for inquiries in the community on any topic. If we don't have the answer ourselves, we'll advise on further points of inquiry, and we befriend the elderly and vulnerable members of the community who may otherwise feel alone or friendless. We are accredited by Kent Police, who takes an active role in our initial training. They ensure that our training is to a particular standard and has covered particular topics. Each subject of the training can be met on a daily basis, and this accreditation scheme is shown with the badge on our left arms.
James, how can you find out who their community warden is, if our listeners are interested?
Well, the easiest way is through the website, which is www.kent.gov.uk/community wardens. There's 3 wardens who cover the Isle of Sheppey. There's myself in Laysdown and Warden, Cheryl Hendry in Minster, Dave Osborne in Sheerness. There's also 2 wardens who are based off the island. That's Nick Mays in Kemsley and Kemsley and I Wade, and Georgina Springle in Newington. Our supervisor Paul Crisp is based jointly at the Swale Community Safety Unit in Sittingbourne and the Swale Bridge Partnership in Sheerness.
So, do you tend to work alongside the police, or are you independent, James?
Well, I mentioned earlier that Kent Police take an active part in our training, so there is that side of it. But we are independent from the police, although we do work closely with them, because many of the items that we deal with are also matters of criminal law. I mean, for example, we've got things like fly tipping, graffiti, vandalism, and antisocial behaviour.
James, how do you engage with the community?
Well, I engage with them by meeting with them on any and every occasion that I can. I regularly patrol the streets of my area on foot, and I'm approachable at all times. I won't actually say that's not my job. I'll meet with groups and give presentations, and I'll always be pleased to discuss any item with any person. If I don't know the answer myself, I'll always do my best to find out the person who does have the answers. Another way that community wardens can engage with residents of Sheppey is at the Sheerness Gateway. Every Monday between 12 and 1 o'clock, we'll be on hand to answer any questions which you may have.
James, do you give talks to clubs, groups in the community?
Yes, I do. I briefly mentioned yesterday in how I engage with the community, but the community wardens would be very pleased to speak to any groups and let them know what it is we do and how we can help. I consider it very important for people to understand what the role of a community warden is and how we fit into community life. Far too many people fail to understand that we are not police officers, even though we may work and cooperate with the police service. Community wardens have no powers of arrest other than those of the civil community. We are always keen to let people know the range of our work and how we can help improve the quality of life within the community.
And James, I know you wanted to cover next fuel and heating oil thefts.
There's been an increase in the theft of heating and fuel oil from rural residential properties, and in some places this has actually been as high as 70% compared to previous years. There's about 1.5 million homes in the UK which rely on heating oil as their means of running these central heating systems, and the rise in fuel costs has been blamed on the rise in these thefts. The following advice may help to improve the security of your oil tank. Keep all gates of your property closed and securely locked at all times, and ensure that fences and gates are in good repair. Install suitable security floodlighting and consider installing CCTV around your property. The location of oil tanks can be a critical factor. Ideally, they should be situated within sight of your home, but not visible from the road. If tanks are visible, plant hostile or thorny shrubs around the tank, as thieves will think twice before forcing their way through a prickly hedge, and the smallest trace of blood or shred of ripped clothing could provide enough forensic evidence to identify the offender. Regularly check your fuel levels so that you can easily spot if the level drops. Most homeowners only check their tanks every few weeks, and therefore wouldn't realise how much oil their tank contained. Remote electronic oil monitors, which set off an audible alarm if the oil level in the tank suddenly drops, can be fitted to most tanks. Install lockable caps with crop-proof padlocks or fittings wherever possible. Also provide vulnerable fuel hoses with hardened or flexible casings so that they're harder to cut. If you are installing or resiting an oil tank, consider securing the tank in an alarmed, ventilated, locked structural cage. But please remember that the tanker driver will need access to fill the tank. And finally, check that your oil is covered by your household insurance. These tips will not guarantee that your oil will be safe, but it may give you enough protection from the opportunist thief. If you find that your oil has been stolen, please report it to Kent Police on 101 for non-emergency or 999 if the theft is in progress.
I know, James, you next wanted to cover boxes and packaging left out for collection. It amazes me the times that I see some boxes left out and down. I know you've covered it before. Here you sit on telly, you sit in the papers, and people still seem to do it.
Yes, indeed. I mean, that's one of the reasons I wanted to speak about it tonight. Was just to try and get through to people, just to try and reduce some of the amounts of crime that could be committed through it, because quite often people leave boxes of packaging outside the houses awaiting collection by the dustbin team. This can actually give valuable clues to crooks when new valuable items are indoors ready for them to steal. This is especially true at Christmas time. Obviously that was only about 3 weeks ago, and many crooks patrol residential areas especially for the purpose of gaining intelligence on such matters. But whether it's Christmas or not, be aware that others might have an unhealthy interest in what you throw away. Very often, packaging can be torn up into pieces small enough to go into the wheelie bin. Often, such packaging can be taken to the local recycling facility and be disposed of immediately after the festivities, thus removing any chance of clues being handed out to crooks. Televisions, electrical equipment and other large items can generally be delivered and set up by the retailer, who will also remove the unwanted packaging. Take advantage of this when you can thus remove all evidence of the new goods at the moment that they are in place. Neither should you leave the old television or DVD player, etc. on show awaiting collection by the bin team, as this too implies that a new piece of equipment has been or will soon be bought. By giving some thought to the matter, you'll soon see how obvious it becomes to the outsiders that you've just purchased some new equipment that would provide a thief with something to sell to fund their lifestyles. Deny them the opportunity of stealing your goods by not letting them know about them in the first place. Shred your bank details and then mix them up as much as possible, as some rubbish collections do have clear bags.
And James, before you go, I was just wondering if you could go over those useful contact details for our listeners.
Yes, certainly. I mean, I've spoken a few times about the police, Kent County Council, so I'm going to go through their details. So first of all, starting off with the police, I mean, numbers now are, there's just two of them. There's non-emergency, which is just 101, and then there's obviously the emergency number that everyone knows of, 999. Contacts for our council, I mean, go through to their call centre, be able to report pretty much anything you want to council-wise there. That's 01795 417 850. Kent County Council, they've got a call centre themselves at 08458 245 247. And finally, KCC Highways. I mean, with the amount of rain that we've had recently, there's a few potholes that have opened up, trees down, vegetation, etc. So Highways will be able to deal with most of that, and they are on 03000 418181.
James, as always, it's great to have you here at the Monday Night Community Show on BRFM. Thank you very much for coming along, and we'll see you in another couple of months.
That's fine, Daniel. Thank you very much for inviting me along, and Happy New Year to all of your listeners.
That is James Crane, our regular visitor from the Kent County Council Community Wardens. Lots of useful information, advice and contact details that may help you out, of course, right here at BRFM on the Monday Night Community Show this evening.